Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
If you like listening to Simblified, you must listen to other IVM productions like On Course, an excellent podcast for getting information on foreign education and getting you there. New episodes out every Monday. Check it out on the various podcasting apps and on the IVM Podcast app as well.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Simplified, the best, smartest and most awesome podcast to come out of Malad West, and one that is guaranteed.
Would you specified West? Huh?
Yeah, yeah. One
severe traffic, from West Eastern Express Highway.
Yeah.
And I live in the east, by the way.
So all of Malad, the best one those away. Yeah, and it's guaranteed. One of the show's promises is that will make you sound smarter without actually making you smarter. So your original native ignorance stays intact, which is something which is worth
We pride
preserving.
ourselves on that.
Yeah, we pride ourselves. And in our endeavor to do that, I have my usual accomplices, Chuck.
Hello, hi. I am
Srikeit.
Hello.
And
That's
very
it. That's all,
important.
Naren. In your old age, we are your
So
only
far-
two accomplices.
So far, we are three.
Yeah. And
Till there is good news.
Yeah, till there is good news.
So usually on this show, we break down complex things that happen around us, such as the Brexit and the US elections and other such
And
cheerful
WhatsApp forwards, of course.
And WhatsApp forwards and cheerful things like that. And once in a while, the world just goes silent and there's nothing to talk about. The tangerine turd is usually busy that week, so nothing has ended up happening. Once in a while, we get in people who are smarter than us, not a very high bar,
Yeah.
but in any case, who do interesting things, and we end up learning quite a bit from those people as well. And it's one such person that we have on today.
And it's a great pleasure to introduce Peter. Hello, Peter.
Hello. Thank you for having me on the show.
Peter here is here to talk to us about poker, and he's a poker expert, which none of us.
Yeah.
Please don't use that word with my name in the same sentence because I'm not an expert in the game by any means. I've been in the industry for a fair while, so...
So what would you prefer being referred to as? I know, because Srikeit, I keep calling him a digital marketing expert and he hates that. He prefers the term social media maven.
That's a nice word, Maven.
Yeah.
Well, poker Maven then.
Yeah. So, Peter, can you tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into poker?
So, I was a corporate slave for a number of years, till about 9 years ago.
Where though?
I worked in a bunch of companies, man. I started my career in event management, worked there for a couple of years, then went to sell... Zandubam for the next couple of years after that, which is the time I also stayed away from Bombay. And once I got back, I joined Star TV. I worked ad sales for them for about 4.5 years. And then one day I decided, bas bahut ho gaya ye corporate slavery. And I packed my bags and I took off to Asia for like a good 3 months. Decided to live on whatever meager savings I had and the goodwill of friends who were there. And tried to, in quotes, discover myself.
Did you?
But that was a very hard task. Really hard task. But it was an eye-opener of an experience, the time away. And in the course of that, I decided to become a professional voiceover artist for a short while.
I can see why. You're why. I can hear why.
And, from there, poker happened because we were at a friend's place, just picked up the game by reading about it. And I thought, bas, ye teen patti we have been playing for too many years. It's too much of luck versus, skill. And so I decided to introduce that into our home game. That sort of took on a life of its own. From there, fast forward, let's say, a year and a half later, we were hosting a few games with friends in Bombay.
Sure.
And poker opened up in India in about late 2009. There were venues in Goa that were offering, when I say venues, I mean offshore casinos, that were offering poker in a formal setup. So we decided to do an event there. I am the founder of a brand called the India Poker Championship, which is a poker tournament brand that exists. Although we haven't done an event in a while now. But
is that held in Goa?
It is. We even did one international event, if I can call, loosely Sri Lanka international. So it's literally like one extension of India out there, literally. But so we did a bunch of events from 2010 till about 2016. And somewhere along the latter half of that time, we decided to expand our business interests into online poker. So I am also one of the principals of an online poker site called the Spartan Poker.
Yeah.
Which we have seen.
Yeah, there are lots of ads of that online. And then coming to the point that you were making about luck versus skill. So to start with, the reason why we have Peter on here is because even more than normal, Chuck, Naren and I know nothing whatsoever about poker. And we tried to learn something about it and just got ourselves more confused. So
I mean, I know solitaire.
Then hearts.
It's not a bad
hearts. I shot the moon once in hearts.
Yeah,
it was great.
If basically what we're saying, if Windows 95 came with poker, then we wouldn't be having this discussion right now.
We played hearts, played solitaire, got frustrated, Minesweeper, stopped. Paint.
Wow, seriously.
So that's pretty much our journey. But one fundamental question is about poker, where it comes from. What is this luck versus skill? There's a lot of conversation you hear about poker on luck versus skill. So where does skill come into poker, and how much luck does
I think as a lot of Indians are usually used to picking up cards at a very young age. For most of us, it's our parents, uncles, grandparents who have introduced us to games like rummy and bridge. The older section or the older folks in our families have usually gone on to teach us those classic games.
Yeah.
The younger crew, when I say younger, I mean when you're in your teens and all, your Mendy courts and all of the world are being played.
Yeah, variants of that.
Correct.
Where you make sets and win sets.
These are the ways we've been exposed to as kids to cards as a whole. We are anyway a very gaming friendly culture as such, Mama Shri Che has also happened in all of our lives as a point in time with, Mahabharat and all that. But I think in the last perhaps a little more than a decade, a lot of kids who have come back from the US, who went abroad to study, or who have had friends who have come from abroad, have brought the game along with them. So this is the new flavor as far as games of skill for younger kids is concerned. And the debate that continues to rage even till date about luck versus skill is that I think we can compare it to Teen Patti as far as an analogy is concerned. Teen Patti is all about luck, significantly about luck. The amount of money that is there in your pocket dictates what will happen. To a fair extent, the kind of cards that you have dictates what happens. But in poker, you could have the bleepiest hand possible, but you can still win with an absolute thrash hand in poker just because you have the skill to do it. Of course, you can get lucky. A game of cards is nothing without a little slice of luck. But like I tell anyone who's curious about poker, in the short term, you can get lucky and win a whole bunch. But if you're a bad player in the long term, you will end up being a loser. So the skill component comes there. If you want to be a consistent winner over a period of time, you definitely need to study and analyze the game, analyze yourself, your play, your opponents. And that's how you get better. So I don't want to say it's like a physical sport per se.
Sure.
But there is a lot of... Yeah, it's definitely exhausting mentally. If this is what you do, there are a lot of players in India now who play this for their bread and butter. So these guys they are paying rent. They are buying groceries because of poker. So you can't afford to kick your stomach that way by not being absolutely on the ball as far as, prepping and being on the top of your game is concerned.
You need a full house for a full house.
Yes. Yes.
I can.
How long were you sitting on that, Chuck? How long?
I can relate to that because I play chess and it's extremely exhausting. So if you were to play a serious game of chess, you would be drained out at the end of
Absolutely.
it. Because, the guy in front of you is a shark. And if you slip up, he's going to eat you up.
It's fantastic that you've used the word shark because that's a very common term in poker for a absolutely rock solid hardcore player.
So you the slightest weakness and your meat basically. Yeah.
The thing with chess is that there's no money involved in most cases anyway. The thing is with all card games that involve money, it starts to then get into a space where it could be disastrous for you if you're a bad player.
Yeah.
But if you're sensible enough, this game can reap you rich rewards.
Yes. I read recently about a chess either grandmaster or international master, who said, so he was interviewed, he's quit chess and become a poker player. And he says in 1 year, he earned more than himself and 10 of his other colleagues would have made in their entire chess playing life.
Yeah, the money is obviously a huge draw for a lot of people. Yeah. But you come down to earth really fast if that's what your sort of, your driving force or your driving thought behind it is concerned. That can really shatter your dreams if you're not very dedicated to the game is concerned. It's like chess. You're reading books about strategy. You're going to be planning your tactics. You're going to be studying your opponent. And I mean, Garry Kasparov is...
Correct. So people like me play chess, but we are not good at it. So we play for fun. We play for entertainment. Despite the fact that it tires you out mentally.
Yeah.
But I'm not realistically hoping to earn anything. Not my bus fare even.
Yeah. Let's talk some more over the course of this podcast. Perhaps you will change your mind.
One thing I wanted to ask was, how did I know that there are various types of poker, various types. So how does that work? Like is it the same difference as is it length like the variations of cricket, or is it something like football versus futsal, or what are the my question basically is you
don't play a lot of poker, do you?
No. So you hear of Texas Hold'em poker.
Yeah, like what is the difference between
what
these? What differentiates one from the other? Is it the rules? Is it
yes, the rules to a certain extent are common for many variants in poker. So if you know how to play Texas Hold'em, you pretty much know how to play a lot more variants.
That's like the main...
That's like the absolute... The most classic form of poker is stud poker, where you're given 5 cards. You get to draw your cards over every course of a betting round. And then, whoever's got the best hand at showdown is the winner. That evolved to Texas Hold'em, which is a little more exciting as a sport because you have community cards which are opened out in the middle that all the players can use to make their hands. And that in itself creates...
now you have to calculate.
Because you can see... That guy can see the same cards on the table.
Everyone has the same information.
And now at the end of the day, there's only 52 cards in a deck. So a lot of... speaking of people who've quit chess and gone, there's a lot of math, there's a lot of logic that is such an integral part of the game that, former MIT students, graduates in fact, extremely, extremely clever, intelligent people have taken to this game and are earning in the millions on the international circuit. So it's certainly something that has drawn a lot of global interest, and it's picking up in India significantly so in the last many, many years now.
So we're here with Peter, and we're talking about some really interesting stuff about poker and learning a lot of new things which the ignorant trio on this podcast knew nothing about. So join us back after this break.
In a world where people are busy playing Mendicote at Diwali parties, 2 men decide to go all in the river.
Don't you mean on the river?
On the river.
Oh yeah.
2 men will go where no one has ever gone before, to a studio with no air conditioning or Coke Zero to talk about poker.
Hey, order lo na yaar koi, kya hai ye bakwas?
The SpartanPoker.com presents Mera Kaam Poker, hosted by Azim Banatwala,
the best comedian in the world, according to himself,
and Peter Abraham,
not related to John.
New episodes out every Wednesday on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app you use. And for all our listeners who want to try out their hand at poker, you can log on to thespartanpoker.com, register yourself as a user with the promo code IVM, and you will get 200 bonus cash, which you can use to play poker for free. See you at the tables.
Welcome back to this very special interview with Peter, who runs the Spartan Poker and the IPC, the Indian Poker Championship.
Yep.
So yes, one question that I had, which is slightly related to what you were talking about just before we took the break, is about the legality of the sport in India, and even before the legality, what is generally perceived in popular culture or in that whole society thing?
See, man, if you're looking at the societal angle, it's always been the same as it has been for decades now. Jua khelta hai. I mean, you can't really get away from that. Sure. There is a certain taboo that is even today associated with the game, any game of cards for that matter, not just poker.
And why is that? Is it like it's...
I don't know, man. There's been so much negative. I think,
Because
again,
you
I
yourself
hate
said
to
a
say
while
it, but media is responsible.
Sure.
And by that I mean, you see this in popular culture, films and TV shows that casino mein, nahi mausi,
It's always the bad side
jab
that's true,
jua
right?
karta hai, tabhi peeta hai.
It's always the bad side of it, that's true.
Yeah,
right?
obviously.
Yeah,
there is a lot of negativity associated with it.
The way it's portrayed also, the shady back room and guys sitting over there. with
So-
like,
Never MIT guys coming and running me.
And there are many of those.
he's
But
like put vibhuti on his head and he's...
I'd love to do that at the table, man. Just freak those guys out a bit. But yeah, the fact is that while online poker is legal, and even live poker for that matter, it is legal in the venues that are allowed to run it. So if you go to, let's say, a poker room in Goa or Bangalore or Calcutta, you should be able to play a game there.
And it's state by state. It varies state by state.
Yes, there are 3 states which explicitly do not allow, at least as far as the online poker is concerned, they do not allow, or any other games for real money.
Sure.
Like Telangana most recently has laid out a rule which says that you cannot.
Okay.
And the 2 states prior to that are Assam and Orissa, where you are not allowed to. But besides that, it's entirely up to each individual state to allow this. And I think more and more people are getting into the sport because they realize that from a social angle, of course, it's a lot of fun to play poker any which ways.
Sure.
You have your home games where people get together, have people over, and it's just a social fun
It's
kind
like
of a
another
game.
excuse to meet up. basically.
Correct. So, a lot of people I know run a weekly home game where they just get a chance to meet their friends in that kind of a setup. Then there are those people who want to make it a bit of a career. So they are semi-professionals who play online or even live. They go to Goa, they go to the Philippines, they go to Macau because the big tournaments in Asia are happening in those regions.
Right.
The people who have a bigger bankroll being the money that you have to play your poker games with. The bigger bankroll guys even head to Vegas or Europe, to play the circuits there because those are where the big tournaments are
big
happening.
money.
Monaco is one of those places that hosts a really big buy-in games. Obviously made super famous in Casino Royale because of that completely daft hand which I keep telling people about. Like that really never happens in poker, man. It's any poker player is like clutching his head like, "Ye aisa kyun haath dikha diya?" It was like that.
So I think that's to poker players what Big Bang Theory is to scientists. Is to
I'm sure
School of
that
Rock
is
to rock. Like, is
That's
wrong
true.
chord. So,
But again,
Rock on is too.
sorry.
rock on.
That's what I meant. I'm so sorry. School of Rock was actually legit. Sorry.
Yeah, School of Rock is like miles in a different planet than... I don't know, let's not bitch out
Let's not
anything
go
else.
But there's another question that I wanted to ask. I mean, again, when you talked about popular culture depictions of poker, and I mean, people who see like a lot of Western media and like TV shows and stuff like that, and they always talk about, okay, play the man, and there's this entire angle of that. How important is that versus like, I mean, what you're talking about, which we initially talked about, like MIT graduates sitting like almost math whizzes who are playing this game, and then you hear this entire swashbuckling Casino Royale kind of attitude of playing the man. What is the balance between the two? I mean,
See, you have to look at it from 2 perspectives. There is obviously the live game that is played, and then you have the online game. In online, you don't have the advantage
dimension.
of seeing someone like, oh, he's twitched his eyebrow. That is a tell.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. There are online tells, of course, when someone calls too quickly by pressing the button.
Sure.
Those are also referred to as tells sometimes.
So it's like a whole different world, right? Like the
There is.
skills
It's
that you need
it's
to...
a definite subculture that exists. And as far as live game and coming to what you were asking about is basically there is a certain physicality that you're supposed to maintain in poker. Hence poker face.
Hence, yeah.
So I have seen people who have being a part of the IPC has allowed me to see these kind of live games happen from time to time. And at the table there are like literally hundreds of thousands of chips at play, and someone has decided to make a move just basis this guy not looking the way he expects him to look.
Wow.
And we're talking about a significant sum of money in cases where, there are lakhs which go up and down over the course of an evening. So you are basing everything you have on micro expressions even sometimes. So yes, playing the man has a lot to do with those physical tells that are there. Someone might talk a little too much when they've got a good hand, or suddenly go "Arey, quiet," and like, "Arey, man, I'm not trying to draw attention to myself," kind of. These are all tells that are very obvious. Now, that began as an obvious tell. People started exploiting it in later years as what is now known as the reverse tell. So I will deliberately, even though I have got like completely thrash cards in my hand, I might just portray that I've got a serious, let's say a pair of aces or something in my hand. So playing the man in live holds, in the live context, definitely is a lot more than in the online context. And it could be anything. It could be, you've seen exaggerated examples of that when Lashif, mere aankh se khoon tapak raha hai, all that bullshit, dude. Like, come on, dude. Seriously. Which is why, those kind of pop culture, the way they've sort of portrayed it is laughable at times.
But once it comes to the higher levels, when you're talking about professional poker players and really, really high stakes, doesn't everyone have a pretty good poker face?
They do, and the thing is, they usually work it to the pros, and I'm talking primarily international guys, who you see on television and all, playing for these kind of sums of money. They've been around the block a lot. They've been playing the game for, in some cases, decades. So it's not like, I saw your face, you did this, and so I'm going to make a call. No, it's going to be entirely, for them, it's all about betting and strategy.
Right.
You can't mess with your opponent who's as good, if not better than you. So you have to outthink him in the way you bet. And so for them, strategy as far as betting and, the numbers that are involved in the pot are concerned. So when it comes to making money, a good poker player would want to play against a weaker opponent.
Right.
But the chances of bluffing off a weaker opponent are slightly lower than bluffing off an experienced, skilled opponent, because he is thinking along the same lines as you are.
Wow, that's
Acha, maine aisa socha, waisa, and then, you connect the dots, and so you're playing that out for him. You're painting the canvas, saying that, listen, this is the story.
Yeah.
Wow.
So come to the conclusion and back off.
Yeah.
Right? But the guy who doesn't know, or who's a noob or inexperienced, he'll be like, "Arey, mere haath mein to ek ace hai. That's good enough. I'm going to call." And so, in those cases, obviously, that's where the luck factor comes in. That people just play because mujhe ek feeling aaya hai. But good players will prefer to play against more experienced or
players.
good players, other good players. But it doesn't really make them too much money because it just goes back and forth at the end of the day. So, yeah.
I love that term that you use, micro expressions. And that reminded me of something else, which is like
That
nothing
TV
to do
show?
With, no, not the TV show. I don't watch too much TV. I actually went for a magic show once, and it's not one of those bunny out of the hat sort of magic shows. This is the type of guy who reads people's facial expressions. So the type of thing where he sort of guesses the person's mobile phone pin and stuff like that. It was actually quite fun, and he actually revealed a few things like this magician, he gave somebody a phone and asked to scroll through the numbers or something, and just said, just look at the numbers. And apparently, even when you look at a number, you give out facial expressions that 9, 8, 7. When you're thinking
pupil
9,
dilation and
pupil
stuff.
dilation somewhere. And he said this, and he just rattled it all off, and it was just stunning to watch. So a lot of similarities.
Definitely
there,
don't
I'm
have poker faces, those people.
Yeah.
No, it's very simple. I mean, I'm not sure if I've got it right, but when you're recollecting something, you tend to look at the top left-hand side with your eyes. And if you look on the top right, it means something else. So these are little things that
this
can be
reminds
exploited.
me, I'll just interrupt, of a fantastic book I read really long time back called Pakun by Spike Milligan.
Okay.
So in one of his characters has really bushy eyebrows and very mobile. So Spike Milligan says in moments of emotion his eyebrows had been seen as far south as his chin. So
Nice.
you can almost imagine.
I have a few. Sometimes what we do when we get an expert, a Maven.
A
as you
Maven,
prefer.
yes. I like the Maven.
on the show. Since most of the time we know nothing about it, we usually put together a bunch of trivia and then we ask, and then we see how many people can get
I'm in
right.
so much trouble.
So I've put a few things together. This is quite interesting actually. So let's play the poker quiz. According to reports, which country's state-sponsored hackers have attempted to infiltrate online poker and other gambling websites as part of an effort to steal money?
Must be Russia.
Sounds like Russia, but it's close enough.
Ukraine.
No, actually not that. Not geographically
Estonia.
close. More like ideologically close.
Oh, North Korea.
There we go.
There you go.
Which country's cybersecurity reported this?
North Korea.
South Korea.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. How many possible hands of poker are there in a 52 card deck?
Oh, wow. I should know this answer, but I can't recollect it.
It's okay. It's 2598960.
Yeah, it's a big number, that's for sure.
Yeah. There's a player called Johnny Chan. I don't know any of these names. They must be legends to you, yeah.
I love the fact that you said there's a player called Johnny Chan. just to be clear, he's known as the Johnny Chan. So.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, it's like, but
there was a musician called John Lennon.
Yeah, I know there's a singer called John Lennon.
Okay. The Johnny Chan or Johnny Chan, whatever. Sorry. Captain Orange at the poker table. Why?
I've heard this story.
Yeah. It was to
the Maven is quickly losing his Mavenhood.
No, that's
right
okay.
now.
My job is to dig out obscure things like this, so don't worry.
Do lay it out.
Yeah. It's to have something to smell if other players start smoking.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, this is in the old days when smoking was quite a common feature at the tables. Now most rooms are non-smoking. So
Apparently, Toby Maguire has won more than $10 million playing poker. And President Obama apparently is an excellent bluffer as well. Okay, this is fantastic.
You're basically saying the Trump presidency is one long bluff and one is going to be like, hey, main idhar hi hai.
Okay, this is fantastic. There's an English lord called John Montague. And he frequently played poker, and he was very impatient and very, he didn't want the hassle of eating a meal separate and getting it brought to the table, etc., etc. So he did something that led to an invention that all of us use today.
finally the Maven knows something.
Go on, hit us.
So he's the Earl of Sandwich.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The fourth Earl of Sandwich.
Yes, I've read this.
So he ended up creating the sandwich. He told his domestic staff to put meat between slices of bread. Wonder why nobody ever thought of that before, if you think about it.
Yeah, people put different meats different places.
Okay, that's actually all I can think of. We tried to make puns, but we really couldn't think of anything apart from.
I think the meat thing pretty much did it.
So Cat and the Rat went to play poker. Both had sponsors from Simblified. Srikeit chose to sponsor the cat, while I back a rat.
Wow.
That's all I could think of. I'm very sorry.
My contribution is I wanted to call this episode Poker with a Peter, but it was overruled.
Don't tell me that cannot be the first part.
We've put it out there in the world now.
Yeah.
So. Hey, all you ladies on Tinder, you heard that?
Peter's done a very good poker face of trying to be not throw things at us. So, Peter, why don't you tell us a little bit about the podcast that you're going to be doing?
Yeah, so this is something that we are very excited about. I don't think either myself or Azim have ever done something similar in this space. The show
Azim
is
being Azim Banatwala
Yes.
of East India Comedy fame,
Correct.
of Tall Person fame.
Yes. He is the primary host on this podcast we're doing called Mera Kaam Poker. It's going to be on IVM and it's going to be talking about, we don't want to make it too hardcore a show on poker because there's many podcasts like that out there which focus extremely hard on strategy and tactics and things like that.
The technical aspects of the
Yes,
game. Yeah.
think of it as a simplified for poker fans in that sense.
So like
we
a
have finally
complete
become an
noob.
Uber for something. Finally, we have become one of those things.
But it's almost like noobs can tune in and kind of get something from it.
We're going to talk to like a bunch of people who are from
Nice.
various fields. We've talked to people from Azim's fraternity, stand-up comedians. We've talked to stockbrokers. We've talked to film editors. Guys who basically have a regular job and they also are passionate poker players.
Nice.
And we have some discussions about, poker in general. Not trying to shove it down everyone's throat, but it's a
Down
good fun
ears
way
anyway.
to sort of, down ears anyway. But yeah, it's we just want it to be like a nice, fun, light introduction to the sport.
I've also heard it said that poker gives you a lot of insights into the way people are thinking because when you're playing poker, it's basically a big battle of mind. So
It's true. A lot of business people, especially, will tell you that it's something that they consider a huge advantage. If they are poker players, they tend to make decisions.
you
much
acquire
better.
those that dimension.
That's
basically.
true. I mean, you're playing for a lot of money on the table, and that translates to making crores or millions of rupees or dollars or whatever in your boardroom. So it
So
helps.
there you go. Life skills through poker.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much, Peter, for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
We
for having
learned a
me.
lot. We hope that you now look at your cards in a different way with all the puns that thanks to Naren.
Oh, I think the meat pun is going to stay with me for a while.
You'll think of Naren now every time.
You have a
I
sandwich.
wanted to make the very obvious royal flush joke, but let's not do that. Thanks so much, Peter, and thank you guys for tuning in. And we will be back soon. Catch our podcast every fortnight. And the Spartan Poker's Mera Kaam Poker will be coming shortly on all your favorite podcasting apps like Stitcher, iTunes, Pocket Casts, and of course the IVM Podcast app itself. And all places where you can catch Simplified too, by the way. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
एक्सक्यूज मी भैया, एक्सक्यूज मी,
बोलिए मैडम।
मेन्यू में क्या है?
मेन्यू में सीन अनसीन है, पॉडकास्ट है, ऑन कोर्स है, साइरस है, मेड इन इंडिया, रीडिस्कवरी प्रोजेक्ट, एम्पावरिंग सीरीज, सेक्स वेक्स है, IVM लाइक्स है, सिंप्लीफाइड है, कीपिंग इट क्वियर है, थिंग्स एंड डेस्टिनेशंस है, माय नेबर सकरबर्ग है और द फैन गराज है। आपको क्या चाहिए?
एक बार रिपीट कर देंगे क्या?
रिपीट नहीं करता हम। आप जाओ IVMpodcast.com पे और सुनो ये सब, या फिर डाउनलोड करो उनका ऐप, सब आपकी उंगलियों पे।